Welcome to the Knighthood Podcast, a comprehensive weekly analysis of the Newcastle Knights 2024 NRL season, brought to you by Michael and James. So fire up, let's go. Hey James.
How you going, mate?
You like the new intro?
Oh, I love it. That's great. Fire up.
Fire up, that's it.
We will be firing up tonight.
We will be, 100%.
Yeah.
Look, we're both smiling, but we've been through a bit of a rough couple of days. We've put a lot into the pod this year and a lot into analysing the team and the performance and the predictions and all this. And look, as a Knights supporter, it's been a pretty tough couple of weeks. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. Emotions get quite heightened, when we're in a bit of a crisis like this. And I'd say it is a semi-crisis at this stage of the season, 2 wins and 5 losses. So, definitely not what we predicted or what we would have hoped to, position we would have liked to have been in. But here we are. And, we've got to go through the mess tonight. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, pretty much. We're just going to keep rolling on. And I think, the Knights have got to, they can't pack it in. They've got to, just get in there and try and find a way to be to win footy games and be competitive. And I know it's a huge blow losing, our star player, but maybe this might enable them to release the shackles and just play some footy and not be under that amount of pressure. Just go for it. They've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, well, they don't have as much to lose at this point, and I don't think they've handled the pressure so well this year, and we'll get to that. There were some comments made in the press conference in regards to that. So, look, without further adu, I guess we should crack into it. Just a quick shout out to there was I actually sat in the members area at the Suncorp Stadium on Sunday, and we were quite close to the coach's box. It was a nice experience, nice seats, leather seats there. Even though we lost and it was, not a great result, it was good to see some of the spirit in the Bulldogs camp and club. They're a pretty proud club, and it was kind of cool actually to sit with the members. I've never done something like that before. Sat with the opposition, so it was something different. I walked out of there 5 minutes early, but I was sat next to some pretty nice people. So just a shout out to the friendly Bulldogs mob, and let's get onto it.
Yep.
So we've got the Knighthood Podcast, Newcastle Knights Round 7 review and Round 8 preview. On our agenda tonight, what we're going to be doing is mixing the format up slightly to dig a little bit deeper into some of the issues with the team and the club at the minute and the results. So we will go through a full review. We'll quickly brush over the 3-2-1 for the year, have a quick look at the ladder, which is looking a bit depressing. Then we'll go into a couple of new segments. One's called Follow the Patterns. So we're going to look at some other results from other teams above us on the ladder and look for some patterns there. Critical coaching and club decisions. We're going to quickly whip over that to see what decisions have led us to this position of the year. Will give us a 2024 pass or fail as a club and as a team. Then we'll get into the second half of the show, run over injuries and suspensions, run over the coaches' hard decisions. We're going to go back to the squad. We're going to look at the squad. We're going to, James and I are going to have a review of our best 17, and we're going to give you our take on who we'd be picking at this stage of the year to readjust to what's happened. We're actually over close to 30% of the way through the season. So at the moment, we can't really settle for what we've put on the ladder so far. We will have a look at the team list review for this week's match against the Dolphins on Sunday up there at Brisbane. And then we'll have a look at who's officiating the match, what the weather conditions are like. We'll run over our final analysis, and then we will get into the betting tally review for the year and also our round 8 tips. So I just wanted to bring up this slide to start with. It's a little bit different to our normal format. So basically you can see here that prior to the match, there was some changes that I just thought we should touch on. In our pod last week, we had in a coach's hard decisions, we said the one point that we brought up was that we should consider dropping Cogger and put Gamble into the side. And guess what happened? That did actually happen. My take was that we shouldn't drop them. I think we should keep. Only 2 weeks ago in a press conference, O'Brien said we shouldn't be matching around the halves too much. And what does he do before the match? He does that. I think he did it because he was concerned about defensive deficiencies with Cogger there. So I think it was the defensive decision because of kick out of the threat. But, is that a good decision to keep changing around the halves? And I mean, how much confidence is Cogger going to have? His confidence to be shot after that.
And why so late? Very late decision, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, pretty ordinary decision. As much as I'd actually prefer Gamble there, you can't keep. It's the third time he's done it, changed the halves, and he seems to be a bit irrational at times. Look, did it cost us the match? Probably not, but still a pretty questionable decision. DSAF started the match in place of JSAF, and Crocker got dropped, and Brodie Jones came into the side. And then, look, I'm going to play a little video here just to show in your season prediction, James, this is what you had to say leading up to the start of the season.
Point I wanted to make was, or prediction, was that in the halves, as we saw, there's, I think there's going to be quite a bit of movement in the halves. So what Adam O'Brien decides to go with in the beginning might not we might not see the same halves combo midway through the season and at the end. So I think there'll be quite a bit of movement there.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Definitely unfortunately. So that was your take at the start of the year, and look, you're spot on. We'll get into the critical coaching decisions and kind of assess things a bit further, but definitely that has been one theme that certainly hasn't helped the side at all. And we've only been a little bit off, taking extra couple of wins minimum. Another, I'm going to play a little clip here. Something that I said in the pod, actually, I think it was in the players on notice. My player on notice last week was Greg Marju. This is what I had to say. Last year, missing the bus. Remember, he didn't play a match. Was that actually against the Bulldogs?
I thought it was Brisbane.
But did he
up in Queensland?
Yeah, was that? But did he miss the Bulldogs match? Yeah. Was that the match that he missed?
It might have been. I can't recall.
It may have been actually. But anyway, he's got a bit of a history of being from the Titans let him go because he was a bit of a, I don't know. I don't think his attitude was 100% ill-disciplined. And then overall, I think he played pretty well for us last year. But, early signs of missing the trial there was no disclosed reason for that. And I thought there's been some he's made some lapses in concentration this year. I don't know. I'm not feeling it from Marju this year. I think as much as we need him to be our best winger, I'm not feeling it. He makes the odd error, from time to time in critical times, and he's my main player on notice this week. I want to see a big match from Marju. I think he owes it to the team and himself this week to aim up and help us get a good victory and run, over 200 meters and score a couple of meat pies. Yeah. So look, I guess one of the things is that we really get balls deep in. We've got balls behind us here. Balls deep into the Knights. We put a lot of time and effort into analysing what's going on in the team and the culture and the squad and the players. And look, I was feeling nervous about Marju. And look, I can't believe that drop ball. We were coming into the match again to win. We're down 12-0. We scored a try and he drops it off the kickoff. So anyway, look, I just thought I'd chuck those things in early into the pod, just to kind of demonstrate that we have been sort of on point with a couple of things and predictions with what's going on. And I guess it proves that this process that we go through, we do get a bit of a feel for what's going on. But, who could have predicted the Bulldogs, they were going to beat us 36-12. That was the result. Terrible result. And we're going to jump straight into a technical breakdown. So there's more to come on stats. I've got a summary in a second. But what are your thoughts on what the tactics were here, James? And what's your technical breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed a pretty similar start of what they normally do. They sort of ease their way into the game. Newcastle haven't really been, maybe at the start of the Roosters game they flew out of the gates, but normally they're pretty sort of solid. But yeah, first point here, Newcastle were pretty conservative out of their own end. They seemed content to play one out and get to their kick, which is usually their game. Spent the majority of the first half in their own half. The Dogs were very dominant when it came to field position, I thought, in that first half. When we got any sort of field position, it tended to we didn't do a whole lot with it, or we made an error. Next point, they would have been looking to rectify their ruck defence from the previous weeks, but this still proved to be a major issue with two first half tries coming, one off the ruck, and the Bulldogs causing trouble behind the Knights' ruck. So the first try, I think it was to Hughes, just again simple play off the ruck, nothing fancy, and there just didn't seem to be that sort of they just weren't up for it. There was no energy, and then the one that they couldn't defend off the Marzu error, with Bronson Sherry. Again, it was just off the play the ball.
Pretty rubbish.
It really hurts it. Yeah, it hurts us. Anyway,
Brayley was really slow up there. There was no marker. So
yeah, and that's what I mean. They haven't been really switched on around that area, or they go through patches where they're good and then they sort of drop off again.
Yeah, definitely.
Final point. Tactically, the game turned into basically survival mode for the Knights due to them not really offering a whole lot in attack, compounded by Ponga's injury, and just basically trying to limit the damage of what the Bulldogs were doing in the second half. They weren't throwing a lot at the Bulldogs. Yeah,
look, I had a really good feel for the game and the atmosphere and energy and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as Ponga basically in the second half, he wanted the ball to go out. It didn't go out. They scored such a soft try, and then he come off, and then that's basically all she wrote. But look, I will say we'll get into it in a betting segment. I placed the live bet alert. I was sitting there 30 minutes into the game. It was around 25 minutes. I was looking at the stats thinking Bulldogs have had 65% possession here. They're up 12-0. But kind of similar to that Dragons match when they kind of got a bit ahead of us. I thought we're going to come back here. And I just thought that we'd sort of get on top of them before halftime. And so we scored. And then going back into it again, Marju drops it off kickoff, and then Ponga gets injured, and then that's it. So, look, it's we haven't had much luck. Definitely, I think the momentum was going in our favour there. We probably could have grinded out a win. And we'll get into some stats in a second that'll kind of justify, I guess, what I'm saying there. We'll quickly run over here what O'Brien had to say in the press conference. He said that they trained great again, but I mean, how many times are we going to listen to O'Brien talk about training in a press conference? Like, we trained well and we didn't see it coming. And I mean, God, all that matters is what happens on the field. And he's been trained by Bellamy, and that's the system he comes from. And he doesn't look at ladders, and he focuses on the week to week and the day to day and blah blah blah. But we don't necessarily want to keep hearing that they trained well. It's all about performance at the end of the day, and he should be commenting on why they didn't perform. So I got this bullshit about training well. I mean, we don't really care.
I agree.
That's my take. I've had enough. We've listened to this guy fumble through press conferences in previous years, and I don't want to, I don't want to have to go and make a video clip, segment of what and send it out on the pod, of highlights of 2024 Adam O'Brien. I really hope we don't have to be subjected to that. It's going to be a pretty tough and dour year. So anyway, he said that they're playing like a frustrated team and they're not loving being in the grind. They're first grade professional footballers that are paid well and they're not, enjoying being in the grind. Like, come on.
And it's round 8 as well. Like it's round 8.
Well, it was round 7,
or
but now it's round
7,
8. Yeah. So, rubbish.
Got everything to play for.
Everything. Well, yeah, that's the most disappointing thing here is that they did have everything to play for. He also commented, and Brayley seemed to chime in here, that they should be 1 to 2 more wins up on the ladder. Now, I absolutely agree with them, but maybe that's their attitude. Maybe that's why they there's something wrong there psychologically. I think the start of the season has actually affected them, and that's led to this capitulation in the second half in this match. I think when Ponga went down, they just gave up. Gave up. They definitely didn't give up, but I don't think they believed they could win. I think that's what I'll say. Then they started making excuses, which Adam O'Brien's good at doing. So then he basically come out and said they haven't handled the expectations. He said that the Bulldogs and the Dragons are playing with less pressure, and that we're playing with more pressure. Come on, man! Like, you won 10 in a row last year. It's kind of like if you're betting on horses and you back 10 winners in a row, you think you're King Kong, right? So did they think they were King Kong at the start of the year? Did they get too far ahead of themselves? Look, they got belted in the second semi against the Warriors. So, at the end of the day, winning 10 in a row was great. They got in the semis. They beat Canberra in that awesome match. I've never been to a better match footy, but they didn't win the premiership, so they should definitely not have been turning up complacent.
To bring them back down to earth would have been like that first game against Canberra. After that, they got their ass kicked in the first game. Then they should have came back after that and gone, right, this is the real deal. We have to put the effort in and we start from scratch again. It's not last year. They should have learned that lesson after round 1. It shouldn't be something that the expectation's still an issue at round 7.
Well, there you go. It is round 7, and now I think we'll get to it in a second. Let's get into it. So let's run over your final analysis, and then we'll get into a bit more of analysis of the coaching decisions and club decisions.
Yeah. So my first point, I've just got Newcastle had very few opportunities in attacking positions during the opening 30 minutes. Canterbury were dominating field position and went out to a 12-0 lead. So pretty much, I mean, the Dogs were, like I said, dominant in the field position. Newcastle, when they did sort of get into any position, I think I mentioned it to you off air when they could have put Dylan Lucas into a gap and he just put it straight down. So whenever we did get any sort of field position, we didn't really do anything with it or made an error. Second point, the attack was pretty conservative coming out of territory with a few glimpses of up-tempo footy when Brayley got out of dummy half. So I noticed that a few times. They actually caused a few dramas out of dummy half off a quick play the ball, and they didn't seem to really
react to it.
Do that very often. In general, the attack was clunky and slow motion when in attacking field position. 18-16 at half time. I've got this little section here. The Bulldogs continued their territorial dominance in the second half. The Knights lacked energy and creativity in attack. Injury to Kalen Ponga just rubbed salt into the wounds. Another lackluster performance from the Knights.
Yeah, look, it was lackluster, and let's now get to my stats. It's a good segue. So the Bulldogs, they lost their starting forward after 2 minutes, whatever his name is, I forget. But they lost the starting forward after 2 minutes, and they already were under strength. We had more strength than them in the pack. Overall in this match, the Bulldogs completed 66%, to our 73. So it's not like the Bulldogs turned up here and played like world beaters. They completed at 66%, and we lost 36-12. The Bulldogs gave away 11 infringements to our 3. So not only did they drop the ball more, and give away way more penalties, right? They also miss more tackles. They missed 35 tackles to our 19. So, this is the stat that stands out to me. We ran for 1,235 meters in comparison to their 1,500. It was like 29 meters per set. What the fuck are these forwards doing? Like that there is just horrible.
Well,
absolute dog shit.
The point under there that you've got there, that not one forward ran over 100 meters. When I was going through the stats, I just couldn't believe that. That's just not acceptable.
That's terrible. It's like, if why, the thing that pisses me off here, right, is we mentioned it last week. These players should have been fired up for this match. Like, you're 2 from 4, and if you win this, you're 3 from 4, and you got the season moving back in the right direction, right? It's a critical match. You cannot continue to drop games that you should be winning. You've got to make up for the close losses that you've had. This was the game to do it, right? The Bulldogs didn't turn up here, and they've completed at 66%. They gave away 11 penalties. They missed more tackles than us, but we just didn't turn up. This here pisses me off. I'm fired up about that. What do you think?
I mean, if you look at that, it's the fact that they won,
it's glaring
with a 66% completion rate. Also, the missed tackles, right? And
it's terrible.
They scored 6 tries.
Yeah.
So obviously the tackles we obviously missed were, pretty. They
critical. They're the ones that matter. They miss them. They miss the tackles that matter.
Yep.
But it's just it's very disappointing that they would dish out. I mean, were they so tired after they had a 10-day turnaround
10
coming
days.
into this? There's no excuse. How can they be tired?
No,
anyway,
I wasn't buying the. I mean, I get the whole they were fatigued prior to that, but after 10 days,
well, it was bullshit.
They should have been. They should have been raring to go.
Something happened within that culture of that side that dished up that performance. And as I said, I think if Marju didn't drop that ball, this game could have been completely different. Now, we don't know what would have happened with Ponga. He probably still gets injured, and we probably still lose.
But even during the course of the game, there wasn't even like a forward who really tried to, say a few.
Well, KPP did. Let's get to our 3-2-1s. So we'll get to the team performance now. Some play, not all players, didn't turn up. So this was this is part of my analysis. I posted this on X when I was there at the match. Lovely day on Sunday. Really enjoyed it. Was nice to be out there in such a good spot. And I said, big match for the Knights. They must aim up today and get the chocolates. 2-5 start from the season would simply be unacceptable. We predict that they'll win and win well. A 10-day turnaround, close to full strength side, perfect conditions, no excuses. Then the Bulldogs lose their starting forward 2 minutes into the game. What the fuck? Seriously. It's probably the most disappointing after the build-up for the year. We're into our 7th match. We've lost a couple of close ones. We should be a couple more wins than what we are. This is the type of game. You're playing the Bulldogs last year. You smashed them twice. There's just no excuses. And that's it. No excuses. I said it. I think this all went downhill for the Knights after the first 15 minutes of that Roosters match, where I thought Cogger and Hastings in the halves, and that first 15 minutes was champagne football. I thought we looked outstanding and everything was coming together for the Knights. And then it's been a horror show since then. And we're going to get into whether they can turn it around. We're at a massive crossroads here. I had this horrible feeling last year when before the Bulldogs match, if we lose this match, O'Brien's going to get sacked and now we're going to do a rebuild and blah, blah, blah. We didn't have to do that. We had the magic run of 10 wins and we did well. But now we're at that crossroads again. It's just a shitty feeling. And as, us Knights fans, members, supporters, call us whatever you want, who, turn up every week and pay money to go in and watch the games and, tune in on TV and listen to podcasts and mainstream media and read papers and, we spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
I've got a mate of mine, Foxy, from Newcastle. He's probably not watching this tonight. He's watched every other one. But he said, I've had enough of this team. I just can't handle it. I'm wasting too much time, spending too much of my life on this. So that's, shout out to Foxy. Hopefully pick your spirits up again and we get back into it. But yeah, that's, we deserve a bit better than that dog shit that they dished up on Sunday at a core. But, the bright side, who got you 3-2-1, James?
Yeah, 3 points. I got KPP. I thought he was out of a team of. There wasn't a lot to pick from, to be honest. I thought he was pretty damn good, and he done his best. And again, it continues his recent really good form, and he's just continuing to improve. I thought Phoenix Crossland, when he's got my 2 points, when he came on, he really had a crack.
Yeah,
he was getting in the thick of it. It seemed like he was trying to change things. And I thought he was really, really good considering the situation he was thrown into. One point I got your mate, Greg Marzio. Yeah, I know he made that error, but he was.
I think your eyes are painted on here, mate.
Well, when I went through the stats mainly, it was more like he was the only guy who cracked the 100. I think he got 143 meters.
He did. He ran. I mean, he clocks those meters up pretty easy. But yeah. Look. It's your call. It's your point. You give it to him. I think your eyes are painted on that one. I think you're going off the stat sheet there. And overall, yeah, he did make the most meters in the side. But God, oh yeah, I've been over it. I predicted it. I saw it coming. I'm just not feeling it from Marju this year, and I just think he's a liability. The bad outweighs the good. I gave Crossland 3. He put in so much effort, mate. He's a goer. Good on you, mate. Really, really aimed up. He's trying to smash blokes, running hard, making effort plays, playing eyes up footy. Awesome to see. I thought KPP. I thought he was, he's starting to come into his own. What a great talent he is. Justifies getting rid of Fitzgibbon last year, and Brayley. He made the most tackles. I think he topped the tackle count at around 42. And I like the fact that he was going up to the ref. When they had the hand, they gave away those cheap penalties with hands on the ball. He was getting in the ref's face. I like that because Ponga doesn't do that enough, even though he's not the captain.
Yeah.
So as we know now, Ponga's injured. There's a good chance that he won't be back this year. I don't think he will be back this year unless they're in a position to make the finals. It's a complicated injury, and there's a good chance that we won't see him again. But it comes down to what the team can do. And KPP's there on 12. Outstanding. He's after 7 games at NRL. What a talent. Gay guy's there as well in 3rd place on 7. The ladder, the NRL adjusted ladder, when we take out the buys and we get a bit more of a clear view on what's actually happening, we are 15th place, 3rd last in the competition. We're playing the Dolphins this week, who are 3rd on 4 wins. We could easily be on 4 wins, but we're not. That's the reality. And we're now without Ponga. And if we have a look here with the Dolphins, out of their wins and losses, they've lost to the Broncos and the Cowboys. And they've beat the Dragons, they beat the Eels and the Tigers, who are on the bottom end of the ladder. They've also beat the Titans. So the good thing we've got going against us here is they haven't beaten a top 8 side. So that gives me a little bit of confidence going into this match, but who knows what they're going to dish up this week. We have beat the Storm, and we also beat the Dragons. So, all isn't lost. Close loss there to the Cowboys, to the Raiders, to the Warriors, the Roosters, and we didn't really get touched up too badly, and we'll have a look at that now. I've noticed a bit of a pattern here, and I think we should hold our heads up with a bit of optimism, because 36-12 isn't a massive smashing, especially when you consider everything that went wrong. And let's just say that's going to be our worst performance of the year. Now we we restructure the side. We like O'Brien said in the press conference, we take a few steps back, have a bit of a reality check, and maybe play a bit of a different brand of footy without Kalen Ponga there, which actually could play in our favour. So if we can just look beyond that one loss, that, you know, for example, the Dragons, they beat the Warriors 30-12. And a couple of weeks ago, all the media is talking about the Warriors being going to make the grand final. And then they lost to the Dragons 30-12. We've seen that the Dolphins beat the Dragons by 38 points. Then we've seen that they got smashed by the Cowboys by 43-18. The Dolphins also gave it to the Eels and whipped them 44-16. We've also seen the Sharks beat the Cowboys 42-6. But then on the other side of that, against pretty ordinary side, the Tigers, they lost 32-6. So it's not the end of the world losing one match, by 24 points, or it's not the end of the world. We can come back from it. And I guess we'll get into that soon. But I guess if we look at the overall season, the critical coaching decisions and club decisions that have led us here, we are one player signed short, and I think Jenkins has been a liability for us on the wing in a number of matches. I think if they sign this outside back, sign another outside back that could have done a better job than him in the wing or on the wing, that could have potentially changed or swung a couple of games in our favour. I think it's been a huge decision, a huge mistake to O'Brien. Basically brought too much uncertainty around the spine, introducing Cogger in at 14. He should have just made a black and white decision and left him out of the side. And I think that created disharmony within the spine, and it's led to our attack not gelling, and look at where we are now. I think the coachings for round one in that Raiders match, I think they were a bit complacent. You know, it's round one. We can win 10 in a row. They were a bit arrogant. That was the wrong attitude. You got to start from round one. You got to start with the basics. And Ricky Stewart, he knew what he was doing, and we lost that match. And then, we couldn't get it right because we didn't have the right gel within the spine in that second match against the Cowboys. We lost when we should have won. Then we get it together. We string together 4 pretty good games. I think another decision, they should have challenged Leo Thompson at the judiciary, because that would have maybe made a difference in that Warriors game, which is a really close one. In round 6 against the Roosters, we made those errors with the interchange, and O'Brien admitted that. So there's another coaching decision that potentially has cost us. And 3 times in 7 weeks he switched the halves, and I think also playing Ponga in that match, he made a comment on Fox that he's not sure if he's going to make it through the first half. Well, and now look what's happened. The club's come out and said it's got nothing to. His new injury's got nothing to do with, him playing injured. Well, then that's bullshit, because we know that, go and look into it and do some research. Injured players generally, if you get one injury, you're more likely to get injured again and overcompensate. That's what's happened here, most likely. It's not 100%, but the club coming out and defending their decision to play him when he was injured, I think is pretty poor.
I think O'Brien sort of, I think there was a bit of panic there. Like, he felt the need to have him there because, it's such an important game against the Dogs. But, I mean, I don't know, poor decision. But getting to the point with,
well, if he's saying that he doesn't know if he's going to make it through the first half, then you just don't play him. Like, it's too much of a risk. And now look what's happened.
And surely AOB's asked him that question during the week. Like, are you good, mate? Are you good?
But he said in the press conference, O'Brien said that he was good and that he's getting better every day. So something happened.
Kalen said something else, yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't right on game day. So they, I guess they weren't prepared. They thought he was going to be good. They didn't prepare for it. Then they made the decision to play him, and now this is where they are, basically.
I also think with the half situation is that I think because he's had Cogger there, and he almost feels obliged to have to change it when it doesn't work one week. Whereas, if you didn't have Cogger in the squad or whatever, he'd just have to stick with the halves, wouldn't he?
That's what
For
you
a bit
call
longer.
it. I mean, O'Brien's now in his fourth year as an NRL coach. That look, there's something. It's very easy for us to sit back here and say this decision here, this decision that, blah blah blah. He's got to manage the culture. He's got to manage the club. It's a very complicated position that O'Brien's in, but that doesn't mean that he's doing it right. It doesn't mean that we can't challenge his decisions. But we do respect the position he's in, and we'd be stupid to, make calls and not, consider everything that he's got to consider. So he's under a lot of pressure from stakeholders in the club, from fans and supporters, not so much from us, but he's under pressure himself, to get things right. He's got to manage the culture within the side. And I, in my opinion, that he hasn't managed that situation well in the halves, as you mentioned as well. I think he needed to make a more hardline decision. And in hindsight, I think, things might have been a little bit different if he did that. So, have we passed or failed for the year? I've got on the slide there, I've got crosses against where I think the first two games we were off pace. We got it wrong. They were games that we could have won both of those games with a change in tactics and attitude. Then we turned it around. We beat the Storm, played pretty well. Great. I thought our best performance of the year is against the Warriors or maybe the Dragons, but I thought that was a really high quality match of football, and we played well. We played really well against. 5. Yeah, Dragons was great in the wet.
Yeah, those two games were solid. Yeah,
our best, and then our first 15 minutes against the Roosters was champagne football. I think we're really moving in a great direction there. We beat the Storm, great close match against the Warriors, smashed the Dragons convincingly. First 15 minutes against the Roosters, champagne football, and then it all went downhill. Ponga got injured. We had howlers from the ref, and then whatever's happened last weekend, Ponga probably shouldn't have played. The team morale's dropped, energy's dropped, and they just didn't turn up. And now here we are. But overall, we've lost 5, won 2. It's a fail. Could we be in a better position, just like O'Brien and Brayley said in the press conference? Yes, absolutely. I think we probably easily could have been 2 more wins on the ladder, and then if you look at the ladder, 2 more wins gets us into equal second. So I think there is hope here that we can pull this together. I don't think we're going as bad as what the ladder says. But God, this match this week's going to tell us a lot about this team. We'll get into a quick message here at halftime from our season sponsor, MB Optimal Oral Care. MB Optimal Oral Care are our season sponsor of the Knighthood podcast. They have a range of zero plastic oral care products that are best for you and best for the planet. You can check out their full range of products via Chemist Warehouse online. Find the link in the description. Awesome oral care products, MB Optimal Oral Care. You can find them on Chemist Warehouse. Go onto Chemist Warehouse and search MB OOC. That's 2 separate words, EMBI OOC on Chemist Warehouse online. They sell awesome tongue scrapers. They sell zero plastic toothbrushes, floss picks. 95% of the population doesn't floss. So they created floss picks that make it easier for you, that are best for you, best for the planet. No waste, save a turtle. Jump on the Chemist Warehouse today and check their products out. Okay, James, second half. Do you want to run over the injured and suspension list there for the Knights?
Yeah. So we have the Knights, 82% full strength rating. We've done pretty well throughout the year, but it's starting to drop a bit, isn't it?
Well, look, 82% is still pretty good. Gay guy, he has been named this week, so then there's 4 more there to run through.
But yeah, we got Gay guy, we got Hetherington for his little. What do you think of that?
Look, we don't have enough time to go into the goss. We're focused here on the team performance. We want to at the start of the year. I remember saying in the preview, we had a good end to last year. After what I said tonight is what it was looking pretty glim. Dim, we come into this year with an improved squad with expectations. We're not here to stuff around. We want to see our team not just make the finals, but contend for a premiership. The window's open, but let's Hetherington, shaped up in the tunnel and he's having a bit of a joke. He's a loose cannon, but I don't mind Hetherington. I don't mind a bit of fire up, and I reckon they should let him off the leash a little bit, to be honest. I think that it's pretty stupid what he did in the tunnel. But he's definitely one player this year that's aimed up. You can't say that about some other players like the Safidi boys. Jacob, not so much, but definitely Daniel. So look, I think we're missing the experience as well of Frizzell and I think we miss Gay Guy. So look, they're on the injury 100%. List. Gay Guy's back this week by the looks of it, and thank God Jenkins is injured.
But I mean Frizzell, I think once we get him back, it's such an experienced professional player. We've missed him. Jenkins, I mean, he hasn't had a great season, has he?
Well, he's not a winger, and he shouldn't be playing on the wing. I mean, maybe give him a match or two to see if he probably deserved it. But I saw it in the trials. I didn't see that he was going to be great on the wing. And God, if we can see it, it shouldn't be too hard for these guys to see it. But like I said, they have to consider other things like culture and long-term view on squad, and all these things have got to be considered. We can be a little bit more harsh. Anyway, let's move on from that. We're coming into the Dolphins have a 65% full strength rating. Our full strength rating is calculated based off what would be the starting 17 normally. We calculate the 6 starting players here for the Dolphins not in this side. So we have a massive edge here. And if you look at some of those names, Herbie Farnworth, the Hammer, and Kafusi, Gilbert, Flegler, geez, they got some quality out of their side. So, we're advantage Knights here in terms of the squad. Even with losing Ponga, I still think we've got an advantage. The hard decisions that the coach would need to consider this week would who replaces Cogger. Well, pretty Fletcher Sharp's not available. I think he's still injured, so Armstrong will come in, and we'll look at that in a second. The halves. Look, he's changed it 3 out of 7 weeks. What's he going to do this week? We'll see in a second. Does he drop Marju after these, consistent off-field issues and that we can't see, but I think they're happening? His attitude, his critical errors at times. Does he drop DSAF? Promoted him last week and absolutely played rubbish. Like, I think he made 65 meters. And as a starting prop in NRL, like he's kidding himself. Elliot, hot and cold, worse than a kettle, this bloke. Nothing personal. That's your performance, mate. And pull your finger out, name up this week if you're in the team. So we're going to quickly run over the squad. We did this in the season preview. We won't spend too much time on it. Ponga's out maybe for the rest of the year. We've got Armstrong, who was promoted to the top 30 squad earlier this year. Fletcher Sharp has actually got priority over him at the moment. A very talented player. I'm excited to see him. And I think there's a lot of opportunity coming up for the Knights when he comes into the squad. He actually could fill in Ponga's shoes. I'm confident that he could. He looks awesome. So let's get a bit more of a Newcastle theme going in here. I'm going to quickly skip over this. Centre and wing, these are our options. Jenkins hasn't aimed up as far as I'm concerned. I think he's more of a centre. Marju hasn't aimed up. We're already short in this wing and centre roster. We've got Gay Guy, who's been injured, and also Mapalungi's been injured. Tawala has stepped up. He's played well, but we're still short. Moffat Drakey can't play until round 11. So we're a little bit, under strength here in this area. The halves has been a shambles. We've got a lot of talent here, but the cards are on the table for O'Brien. He hasn't played the cards right. He hasn't got the formula right. It's a coaching error. Middle forwards. Okay, well, we said it in the season preview. The Safidi boys need to aim up. So Jacob, I think, has been played pretty well. Daniel, off. He hasn't aimed up. And Elliot, he's a kettle, hot and cold. Thompson's been pretty consistent, but I think he's been consistently good. He hasn't been consistently excellent.
No, I agree.
And Hetherington, he's probably been close to our best effort player this year. Crocker seems like he's a bit off this year, but maybe something's going on there within the culture of the team. Coach seems to be a bit off him. Maybe he's having a few too many nights at King Street. I don't know. What's going on? We don't know. We don't know these things. But that would explain it. Brodie Jones got promoted over him last week, so that tells you a lot. And then the rest of them, they haven't featured in the side. So anyway, that's your middles. And look, we played terrible last week. We got owned. Frizzell's been out. We've lacked the experience, but I thought KPP's been great, and Lucas is also. I think he's very talented. We haven't seen Cartwright really feature. I think maybe he will this week, and the other guys haven't had a run there. We've got Brayley, good on him. He's come back. He hasn't been re-injured, and he's starting to look like he's getting some fitness. Crossland seems to have found his way off the bench there in the 14 jersey, as you've mentioned there, James. Riley Jones hasn't featured, or there's Jacob Davies. So then let's run over your best 17, James. Okay, look, we're 7 matches in. We're 2 from 5, 2 wins, 5 losses. Ponga's out. You've seen enough now, 30% of the way through the season. What are you going to do? You're the coach. Who are you going to name?
Yeah, so at fullback, I've got the young bloke Fletcher Sharp in there. I just in the trials he was really impressive. So I thought, he's got to be there. Tuala and Mars Hugh, we don't really have a lot of options on the wing at the moment.
We don't. And we're under strength. Yeah.
So they're the best two.
And Tuala, he's been the best all year out of everyone.
100%. Gagai and Best have been. Dan Gagai has probably been better than Bradman, I think, but that's just my opinion. Bradman's been good, but he hasn't been overly, he hasn't been great. But solid performance from both centers.
I think our centers have been solid. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Gamble Hastings Harbings pair is the way to go. I don't want to harken back to last year too much, but I think that's probably the pairing we're gonna get the most joy from.
Well, we've seen enough of Cogger, haven't we? But the one point I'll make here though is that 15-minute period of Champagne football, the Knights and Roosters, Cogger was there. So, and then he got dropped the next week, so he doesn't even get a chance to back that up. And since Ponga got injured and then the refs and stuff, I don't know. I don't think he should have got dropped. I think Cogger should still be there. But anyway, we've been over that enough. Move on.
Yep. So I've got Jacob Saifidi and Leo Thompson in the front row. Brayley, hooker. At the start of the year, I was 100% Phoenix Crossland. But right now, Brayley's doing a good job. He's really proved me wrong. And I'm glad he has. He's had a wretched run. So it's good that he's hopefully that continues as well,
Yep. So, and I asked you today who you'd make captain, and who have you called there?
Yeah, I wanted Frizzell. I just think he's a guy who leads through actions. And I also think it takes some pressure off the halves. If, rather than have a half, I'd rather have Tyson Frizzell as the captain.
Okay.
KPP
there with Crocker.
KPP, Crocker. Yeah, and he seems, he might be a bit out of favour. I'm not sure what the go is there behind the scenes.
You've dropped the kettle.
Mate, I have to. I've been really unimpressed with Adam Elliott. I don't think we're getting enough from him. He's making errors, and I just don't think we're getting enough from him in that position. We need more. Yeah.
Yep.
He had one good game, I think, against, maybe it was the Cowboys, and I think we gave him the 3 points. I can't remember. Maybe
we did.
2 points.
Yeah. No, he got 5. He got 5, or he might I think he actually got both of our votes. Yeah, so he got 6. Yeah. He hasn't got another point since.
No, but after that, he's really flatlined, hasn't done a whole lot. Yeah, on the bench, I got Phoenix. I think he's struggled at the start of the year. Yeah, and he's just found his spot again. I got Daniel Saifidi, which, potentially he's a great front row, but he's nowhere near he's nowhere near where he should be.
Well, I called him out three rounds ago. I think it might have been that Warriors match or the Dragons one. As the Dragon one, I wanted him dropped. I would have dropped him. He did play well in that Dragons match, but then didn't play so well against the Roosters, and now look what he dished up last weekend. Maybe maybe Daniel Safidi and Crocker are off at King Street. Too many. Who knows? We can only speculate from back here. We're not, in the inner circle. So I hope they're not. But something's got to explain their performances. Yeah.
So when I was watching the replay of the Knights game, they mentioned in commentary that Saifidi, Daniel, to fire himself up prior to the Bulldogs game, he's watching all this footage that led him up to his great form and playing Origin football. And I'll tell you what.
Yeah. That worked well,
work.
didn't it?
What was he watching?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe he had that on one TV and then YouTube on the other. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, mate. That didn't work. Yeah, he needs to find some better inspiration there.
Maybe get the chief in there to slap him across the face a couple of times, show him what a real forward
100%.
is.
Yeah, 100%. They got to do something. Anyway, Hetherington at 16, he's been solid. He done something stupid on the weekend, but he's got to be there. And Dylan Lucas, very talented edge player. He hasn't really found his spot because Pierce Paul and Brazil, or that's he's going to struggle to get a starting spot, I think. But you never know. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to quickly whiz through mine. I'm really excited to see Fletcher Sharp. He showed really great signs earlier in the year in the trials, and some matches in reserve grade. And I think he can actually. They can build the spine around this guy. So I'll go straight into the spine. I wouldn't do it this week, but I would bring Will Price into that sixth position. There's a lot of people in the media calling for it. Andrew Johns called for it. You can't keep changing the halves around. But anyway, I would be getting him into the side as soon as we can. At the first moment, there's an opportunity. I wouldn't be doing it this week. I'd stick with Gamble. But if we're looking at our ideal side right now, than what we've seen so far, he's my number 6. And all this talk, it's a common theme amongst the Knights. I mean, roll off the top of your head players now that are in the NRL doing well at other sides. Nick Meaney, you've got Hoskins at Canberra. Barnett. Barnett. There you go. So there's a number of players that I watched Hoskins in the lower grade for years, and on my squad analysis, I was always wondering, why isn't this guy getting a run? What's going on? They never gave him an opportunity, but he's clearly a first grader. So, I think there's a bit of a culture around, you've got to earn your stripes in reserve grade. Sometimes, guess what? Reserve grade is shit. They got beat 52-6. How can you perform it? You got to be amongst better players to show you. Sometimes to be a good player, good players play better with good players. So, it's starting to get on my nerves a little bit, hearing, he's going to work on his defense. Sometimes they just need to be chucked in there. Same for Moth and Drakey when round 11 comes. If Marju keeps dishing up, the dog food that he has been, then let's get Moth and Drakey in there or sign someone. Get someone in there who's going to actually have a proper go and concentrate for 80 minutes. It's not too much to ask from a first grade footballer. Only other changes here. I'd give Hastings all of the responsibility. I would say, you run this team, mate. It's on you. And if you can't do it, get rid of him, put someone else in. That'd be my decision. And then you've got leaders around you like Frizzell and Brayley, who I'd make my vice captain, Brayley, or even Frizzell. Not a bad choice there. Jacob Safidi, I thought has been pretty good this year. Thompson's been pretty good this year, but once again, we're saying pretty good, not consistently excellent. Our back row, if we can get them on the park together, Frizzell and KPP, that's looking pretty good. I'd get a bit more of a Nui theme in here, and I'd get Crocker in there at lock, get the kettle out, drop him. I've seen enough. that's my call. Whether I'm right or wrong, time will tell, and whether he gets the opportunity. A lot of the time, these guys don't get the opportunity that they should, and then they move on to other clubs and do better somewhere else. And I hope that doesn't happen. I'd bring Brodie Jones in for Daniel Safidi. Well, enough's enough. Drop him. He's, how many chances does someone get? Put him in Reggie's and give him a taste of what it's like to play in a side getting beat 52-6 in reserve grade. See how he plays there.
Brodie Jones is he's a toiler. You know what you're going to get from him. He's going to have a crack.
He's got a big frame,
Yeah.
He'll play a pretty conservative style of footy. He'll have a crack. I think, and that's kind of that's where I'm going with this side. Crocker, bring the Newey boys in, Fletcher Sharp, Crocker, Brodie Jones, all these, I wouldn't call Crocker a toiler, but yeah, they're up and coming Newey guys, and get a bit of that fabric going into that work ethic and just grind out. That's what we need right now without Ponga, I think. But you will see Fletcher Sharp. He's got touches of class. Don't be doubted about that. So anyway, I don't mind Hetherington's fire up. I liked it. Probably used in the wrong channels. And to be honest, if you're going to get suspended for doing that in the tunnels, why don't you just put one on his chin on the field? I would have preferred to see that. We can say whatever we want here on the Night of the Podcast. That's if I was Hetherington, I would have Reed Marnie, mate. He's a pest. He needs to be smacked.
He is
Pull his head in a little bit. And then Dylan Lucas, he definitely gets a bench body. He's a great player. And once again, that's the fabric of what I'm looking at here. Lucas, Brodie Jones, Crocker, and then you throw in the talented players around him. You got Jacob Safida there, he's Ernie Stripes, and best there in centers. And look, it's still potentially with all hopes not lost. Don't get too emotional about losing Ponga. What we've got to hope for here is that O'Brien has picked the right side, and we've got to hope that he can get these guys together, change the game plan, and aim up. That's what we've got to do. Let's run through it, James. Run us through the backs list here quick for this week. This is what he's come up with.
All right, for the Knights, we've got David Armstrong. So, yeah, I thought he was more of a winger in the
no, he's a fullback.
matches, but
he's a fullback. Yep, they put him on the wing.
Yep.
No, but he's actually at the start of the season. He was signed in our top 30 to be our backup fullback.
Yeah.
But Sharp actually showed more promise, so that's why he's our first choice. But yeah, Armstrong, he's handy. He's handy.
Yeah. Yep. So he's our fullback. We've got Marziu and Tuwala on the wings, Gagai and Best, so unchanged there. And we've got Gamble and Hastings in the half. So, yeah, basically Armstrong coming in is the only change there. For the Dolphins, we've got, let me just look at the name there. Is that Fuller? We've got Fuller, Jermaine Asako on the wing, Jack Bostock. The other wing, we've got Avarillo and Tessie New in the centres. Cody Nikarima at 5'8", and Young Katoa, halfback, pretty impressive young player as well.
Yeah, look, they play with speed. They play direct. They play through the ruck, which is probably going to be a bit of a weakness for our side. But I'm expecting a bit of a change in attitude and game plan this week. Let's see, what do they got in the forwards, James?
Yeah, so for the Knights, we've got Jacob Saifidi in the front row with Leo Thompson, Jaden Brayley at hooker, Dylan Lucas in the second row, Kai Pearce-Paul, and the Kettle. Number 13.
Sorry, mate. If you do
Adam Elliott.
Watch this, we've nicknamed you the Kettle, and that's probably something you want to scratch. So aim up this week and run hot.
But I tell you what, just those boys in that forward pack really need to aim up this week. That if they're not pissed off with that performance last week, then they will never be pissed off about anything. Yep.
Well, they should have fired up last week. I don't know. Let's we can't keep going over it, but yeah, move forward now.
Yeah. All right. So for the Dolphins, we've got Jesse Bromwich and Mark Nichols, pretty experienced front rows there. Jeremy Marshall-King's been in great form out of dummy half for the Dolphins. He'll be very dangerous for us. Second row, Kenny Bromwich and Ewan Aitken. and Max Plath at lock.
Yeah, they talked this
Look,
guy up. He's
yeah.
a little hard nut.
Yeah, bit of a
Okay.
nugget.
Look, look, it's a strong forward pack. But who turns up? I don't know. Look, we can't be too critical overall this year. I think apart from the first 2 games and that shocker last week, which is 3 games out of 7, so it's not looking too great. But look, we have showed good signs this year, and we are stronger on paper than what the Dolphins are here. How does that extend into the interchange, James?
Yeah, so at number 14, we've got Phoenix Crossland. 15, Daniel Saifidi. Got Jed Cartwright coming in, so we'll see what he adds to the bench. And then we've got Brody Jones, the toiler. And for the Dolphins, we've got Josh Kerr, Kurt Donahue, Ray Stone, and Keeley. I can't pronounce the first name.
Oren Keeley.
Oren Keeley, yep.
He was with the Knights last year, and he's been released to the Dolphins, so he signed a contract there. Promising second rower. I think he played 1 match for us in first grade.
So obviously Cartwright comes in for Hetherington.
Yep. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes. Get in there, mate. Have a go. Fire up. Brody Jones.
Take your shot, yeah.
Decent bench. Daniel Safidi. Aim the fuck up. Okay. And what's on the reserves there, James?
Yeah, for the Knights, we've got Matt Crocker, Thomas Cant, Jack Hogger, Will Price, and Mapalungi. So he's come back from his
maybe. Or maybe
injuries.
they're just putting him there as a furphy. So who knows? Yeah.
All right. We've got Mason Teague.
Yep.
For the Dolphins, we've got Mason Teague, Sean O'Sullivan, Jared Wallace, Valance Tafare, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Connolly Lemuelu. Yeah,
there's some handy players there. So, I mean, overall, you'd say that we've got a bit of an advantage with our strength rating, and the unknown is we really don't know how they're going to aim up with, Ponga out and how the attitude's going to be and what the style of play is going to be like. So, plenty of question marks. The ref is Liam Kennedy. We've got a 40% win rate with this ref, and Dolphins never had him. So it's I don't have a good feeling about him, or I generally don't about refs. But last week we actually had a pretty good run with the ref, and we had a pretty good history with that ref. So it did prove to be good for us. We don't know how the game's going to be managed. Hopefully we don't get another Roosters performance. Weather forecast 24 degrees, no rain, light winds, 70% humidity, pretty much ideal Queensland conditions for a game of footy on a Sunday arvo. The final wrap here, we're at 82% strength versus their 65%. We're without Ponga. The Knights coming off terrible loss. Does the team respond or cave in? The Dolphins have been impressive, especially around the ruck and in the second halves. So there's some key points. What are your final thoughts, James, before we get into the betting segment?
Yeah, I mean, this week it's going to be tough. I mean, they've only got a week to work with when it comes to how they're going to go with their attack. It's going to be interesting to see what AOB comes up with, or what sort of structure they're going to play with. Do they just continue to play the way they've been playing with the young guy, just playing a similar role to what Kalen does? We don't know. We don't know what they're going to do. What I do know is that they really have to be spot on around the ruck against this Dolphins team because they're fast. Jeremy Marshall-King will absolutely destroy them if they're not up to scratch.
That's right. So this could get real ugly for us. If we don't turn up and get off the bus this week, we could be in big trouble. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Rightio, let's before we get into our match predictions, let's quickly go over the season betting tally brought to you by our preferred supplier, TopSport. Look, the last 2 weeks haven't been kind to us. I think the things that can go against us, betting, is basically luck and injuries and referee decisions. And we've had the lot in the last 2 weeks. We were right on track to actually be running at it. If we picked up last week's match, I would have been at 20% profit for the year. I doubled down. I actually made a live bet during the match when it was 12-0. I thought the Knights, they had the lack of possession. It would even out and we'd come back into it and get on top. We scored a try and then Marju dropped it off the kickoff and, then Ponga gets injured and there's all she wrote. So we've got to now roll the sleeves up. We've got to stick to our processes. We're not going to panic. We're not going to chase our losses. We are losing for the 14. I'm at 14% loss for the year now, and mine is $122 if we're putting $100 per match. My strike rate is 4 out of 4. I've got 4 bets right, 4 bets wrong. In head-to-head in live, I've got 1 bet right, 1 bet wrong, 50%. So basically, I'm 50%, but that's the advantage that the bookies have over us is we have to tip better than 50% to actually make a profit. We will turn it around. We'll get this year into profit. I think I've got a pretty good read on this week's game, but it depends on what the Knights dish up. So overall, we've got to fight from this position, but we don't fight with emotion. We fight with our head, and we probably slow down more than anything. So we will turn it around. James, you're the novice of the team. You're still learning. You're down a little bit more than what I am. I think, at the end of the day, this will be a good year to learn. It's definitely it's been hard. We're focused on the Knights and we're 2 from 7 wins, 2 from 7. So that definitely doesn't help us. But we're still, overall, we are predicting things pretty well. We just need a bit of a rub of the green and stick to our processes, and eventually, we should see these results improve. And that's what our focus is going to be. Just like the Knights, get back to the basics. Don't panic. Stick to the game plan, and hopefully we do better this week. Just a final thing on this is if you were betting with your heart over your head, and just backing the Knights head to head each week, $100 a match, you'd be losing $375 as opposed to 122 of me or 239 of James. So you'd be losing 54% of your money as opposed to 14% with me and 34% with James. So we're doing better than what the team's doing. But hopefully our goal at the end of the year is to be somewhere around 20 to 25% profit, which we can still easily do. But we've got to get the process right. So that's going to lead us to this week's odds versus the Dolphins. We've got the Knights 265 to win head-to-head. Dolphins $1.48. Knights at the line -6.5 is $1.85. Knights 1 to 12 410. Knights 13 plus 675. Please always gamble responsibly. James, what is your bet for the week?
I can't pick the Knights.
Okay. You don't have to bet too. You can sit on the sideline.
Yeah.
You can decide. That might be a wise decision this week. I was almost there myself.
Yeah, I can't sort of choose. Yeah, so I'll be sitting on the sideline this week.
Okay, good. You're not chasing your losses, which is one of our rules. That's great.
Yeah.
Good. We've got plenty of we've got 70% of the season to go plus finals if we get there. So we can definitely get this back on track, and I think that's a wise decision this week not to bet. I've considered things. And this is my call for the week. I'm going to take the Knights in the first half at +4.5. I think we've shown enough this season that we probably could easily be on 4 wins. I think the coach and Brayley were right. I think our bad luck's behind us. It's just going to be a matter of whether this team aims up. And if they do, they're going to aim up in the first half. You saw the Eels got out to a bit of a lead against the Dolphins last week. And you never know. Maybe the Dolphins come in a bit complacent here because of what happened last week and there's no Ponga. So I think we're going to play that to our advantage. I've got to pick 3 winners out of 4 bets laid. We lost last week. I've really got to get the next 3 right. I need to get it around $1.66 average odds. There you go, $1.68. That's my tip for the week. Knights +4.5 in the first half. If we get off to a good start, there's a good chance that we'll hold the lead going into the half. And if we don't, last year against the Dolphins was actually the same game where we lost Ponga against the Tigers. We played the Dolphins halftime. It was 16-12 to the Dolphins in Newcastle. So I would have landed that at +4.5. I've looked at the history. I've looked at what we've done this year, and that's where I've landed. Also, keep an eye live on X during the match. If things go a different way and I get a feel for it, I also considered taking the Dolphins at -3.5 in the second half, considering they're quite good. And if we don't get off to a good start here, I'll definitely be jumping on a live bet and getting on the Dolphins. But yeah, well, James, that's I think that pretty much wraps us up in terms of the content.
Yeah.
Have you got any final thoughts for us here?
No, look, it's a strange feeling because it was doom and gloom for a bit there after the game on the weekend, and but now we know what we're up against. Ponga's gone. We can't change that. He's gone for 12 weeks, so I'm actually sort of excited to see how what they come up with. Yeah, so I'm really hoping the boys see it like that. They're excited to prove people wrong and go out there and throw it around and just, like what AOB said in the press conference, they don't seem to be enjoying footy and they're frustrated. Like, just go out there and play tough, enjoy your footy, throw it around and see what happens.
Well, there's definitely no excuses this week. They can do that and lose, and they can say, "Oh, we lost Ponga and whatever," and we tried to lighten it up and whatever. So let's just see how it runs this week. I'm pretty confident that there will be a bit of a bounce back in response. And look, let's definitely hope that's the way it goes, guys. Guys and girls, if you like the content tonight, please give us a subscribe and a like to support the show. I'm super tired. It takes a lot of effort to put this thing together, to go out to the match at the core on Sunday, to go through the depression after the loss. It's tough. And, it's not just the players who are in this. We're all in it. And, we'd appreciate some support. You can also listen to us on Spotify and on Apple Podcast. Follow us on Facebook and on X, especially on X. We're more heavy on X. Yeah, so thanks for the support, everyone. We're getting more views and support as the weeks go on, and we're going to aim to have a positive betting tally by the end of the year. Be both in the black. And we said at the start of the season we're going to do this because we're passionate. We bleed red and blue. We want to see the team perform, and we want to ride the wave of the season. And mate, we're in the seas are up, the swells are up. We're in the thick of it, and I'm loving it. I'm tired, but mate, thanks for all your contributions as well, James. And let's hope we hear this team song after the match against the Dolphins on Sunday.
See you, mate.
Fire up. Let's go.
Let's go.